Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning scan for March 5th, 2019. I have a lot to go over in this video. In this video, I will go over how I came up with my Ethereum entries, my take profits, as well as my Bitcoin entries and take profits. I'll also go over my areas of interest and why I'm interested in Bitcoin or Ethereum at certain levels. So let's get right into it here. Let's start with Bitcoin actually. So I had a pending short order at I think like 36.30. So what I was expecting, or I guess hoping for, was another leg down to trap a few more shorts and then another leg up. But regardless, I was expecting this next leg up. And that's because if I go to the 12-hour here, we have I guess I should go on this chart. We have the yearly open here at 3693, which has just been an area of support and or resistance. That's really the significance of it. It's the same as a monthly or daily open. All it is an area of support and or resistance. That's all. So anyway, so I just marked that out on this chart here. I also marked out, I went to the 12-hour chart and highlighted this support and resistance level here. So you can see I have this swing low, acted as support, broke through, resistance, you get the idea. So a clear support and resistance line. So I thought to myself, okay, Bitcoin is refusing to dump from this yearly open, right? The chart looks pretty bad, but even though, we only moved, how far? 2% down after let's see, a week of a tight range. So that's odd. So to only move 2% out of a range like that is very odd. So that caught my interest. And also that we've held the yearly open. We have not gotten a high time frame close below the yearly open. So I thought, okay, we may see one more leg down to then trap more shorts. And ideally, I would have liked to see that leg down and then this hold as support, because for how much of a fight the yearly open has been putting up as support, I really don't expect this support and resistance line to break that easily before getting liquidity up here. So that's basically my thought process for that one. That's honestly the only place I could have entered into a long, because my stop loss was like 3558, I think. And right there as well, I had these lows and this little consolidation period here as protection. Even though it was basically directly into a liquidity pool, I felt comfortable because of what I mentioned above, right? This is a strong high time frame support and or resistance. So if Bitcoin doesn't at least attempt to bounce from here, it would be in a much worse spot than a lot of people think. And it's really the same thought process for Ethereum, right? I entered into a long position here. Unfortunately, my personal bids did not get filled, but I did have the entry for 124.30 to 124.50, and it hit 124.50. My bids were at 124.30, which is totally fine. I'm not worried about it at all. But my thought process behind that trade is all I did was look at the daily, right? And I highlighted this daily support and resistance. And as you can see, Ethereum has just been bleeding for the past week with no serious attempt at a bounce. Of course, we have this long lower wick here, but it amounted to absolutely nothing. And that's really it. We filled that long lower wick and just bled into this high time frame support and resistance, right? So it's the same idea as Bitcoin, but if Ethereum didn't bounce here, Ethereum would be in a much worse spot than a lot of people think, including myself. So as we can see, we did see a bounce there. So Ethereum is looking fine. It's not looking great, but at least it did bounce. And it's really important to take note of those high time frame support and resistance, especially if you see something like this, right? If you see a slow bleed into a strong high time frame support, that's a long. And that's a long because that's one of those longs you take because, if the coin doesn't bounce here, it's basically screwed and it's going much lower. So that's a trade that you risk, I don't know, 1% or 2% on it. And I was planning on risking 2% on this Ethereum long because of that. And, of course, other factors went into it, which I'll go into right now. If we take a look at my Ethereum chart here, go to the 12-hour. Okay. So the 12-hour on Ethereum, we can see my equilibrium is basically this support and resistance. This range has been beautiful, by the way, but my equilibrium is that high time frame support and resistance. So I got my long orders from right here. So if I draw a little box right here, I believe it was right here. Yeah, okay. So all I saw was this, it's not really, it is a support and resistance. Basically, the equilibrium and the box above it is all a support and resistance flip. Right, so you can see support, which is also technically the equilibrium, support, which is also technically the equilibrium. But when you do this, you're able to pinpoint your entries a bit better. So that's all I did is I drew the box a little bit, and you can see that with this rectangle, I can include these candle bodies here as resistance, candle bodies here, candle wicks, bodies. So you get the idea. All it is adding more confluence to my argument and helping me pinpoint my entries and exits a bit better. So with that information, I entered into a long position, or I had pending longs for 124.50 to 124.30. So 124.30, as you can see, is just the perfect support and resistance line from this rectangle. And then I put it up to 124.50 just to get it, a few bumps higher. That's all, just to front run it a little bit. So that's really it. That's how I came up with my entries for Ethereum. I did go over Bitcoin, right? And my take profits, I should go over that, huh? My take profits, let me see what they were. Take profits. My first take profit was 133.10. How did I come up with that? 133.10. I come up with it here. 133.10. Okay, so my first take profit was this little, the origin of the breakdown right here. 133.10. Yep, so the top, basically, this block here was essentially the origin of the breakdown, right? So I targeted kind of the middle of that block right here, 133.10 for my first take profit, and that's why I targeted that there. I didn't, of course, I could have targeted this support and resistance flip here, right, at 134.40. Of course, I could have squeezed a little bit more profit out of it, but just because of the market conditions and how weak everything is looking, I wanted to target the origin of the breakdown. And really, that's what I like to target anyway. When I'm in a long position or in a short position, I like to target the origins of the move. So that's what I did for that trade. That's my first take profit. And my second take profit is 140.10. How the heck did I come up with that? And I came up with that right here. Let me just draw it out, and then I could figure out how I came up with that. 140.10, 140.10. Okay, yeah, so my second take profit is just from these highs here. So what I'm assuming is these highs will continue to be defended, but these three highs will be taken. So we've already taken this high here. Okay, so my argument is that, okay, we've taken the first high, now we're going to go for the second high here, or these three highs here. So that's how I came up with those take profits. And for my Bitcoin take profits, 3878, I think that one's a given. All it is the range high here. 3878, somewhere around here above the range high. I'm targeting anywhere in these little wicks here. And that's just because when price was down here, it didn't spend too much time below the range high at all. So because of that, that will be strong resistance as well. So I'm just targeting anywhere in this block. Hopefully that helps. Those explanations helped you. So now let's get into the TA here. So of course, we're seeing a bounce. It's all good and dandy. But to be honest with you, the area that matters the most, this is really the first area of resistance Bitcoin is facing, right? It bounced, and when it did bounce, there's really no resistance on the way up, to be honest. There's just this little block here, which it's currently facing right now, and there's a fight for that area of resistance here. But it was essentially a free 3.5% move up, in my opinion. So, sure, this area of resistance is important, but not as important as 3,900 to 3,940. That's seriously going to be the key for the next few days of price action. So it's very, very simple. I'm going to approach it this way. So what I'm going to do is, okay, if Bitcoin pops up and establishes this as support, I'm looking for longs for the rest of the week. If Bitcoin gets rejected with a violent rejection from 3,900 to 3,940, I will continue to look for shorts and probably ride my shorts down to somewhere like here. Okay, and my thought process for that is Bitcoin has been looking very weak. The high time frames look horrible. So because of that, this move, if it gets violently rejected at the 3,900 to 3,940, we can assume that move, or this move right now that we're seeing, is just a move to generate liquidity and fill short orders a bit higher and liquidate longs before going lower. Okay, so then the next area of liquidity would easily be that 3,500 level. Okay, so how I got that 3,900 to 3,940 level is just from the daily time frame, right? If we move over to the daily time frame, we can see that this was a high traffic area. We had a support and resistance flip here, 3 days of chop and consolidation before the move up, and then price dumped through this area. So what you typically see is price is back attracted to that area where, it basically completely ignored this area of support, which people call a breaker. Doesn't really matter what you call it. All you have to know is price is typically back attracted to those areas. If price, pumps directly through it or dumps directly through it. So as you can see, here's actually a perfect example. So we see essentially the same structure, right? We have 2 days of chop and consolidation, right here. Price pumps through distribution for a bit, but dumps directly through those 2 days of chop and consolidation. Now, if we move this rectangle to the right, I can almost guarantee you, yep, look at that. Price wicks into that area of consolidation, gets strong, has a strong rejection there, and then continues to go lower. So I'm essentially looking for this exact thing to happen when price reaches here. So that was actually a perfect example. I'm glad I pointed that out. But yeah, so that's just the thought process behind that. And it's the same thing for if price pumps directly through it. I'm not sure if I can find one here. Yeah, I'm not going to waste time on the video, but it's the same idea, just for longs, of course. So that's how I came up with that 3940 level. And that's basically it. I suppose I'll talk about, long targets if that level is established as support, 3940. But for now, I'm still mostly bearish, but I am interested in longing into my short position. So I'm still interested in my pending long order at 3733 to be filled. I'm honestly not sure if it will be, but if it's not, it's totally fine. I'm, of course, more interested in filling a large short position for the eventual ride down to this liquidity here and this liquidity. So that's really it. Let me just check the daily so far. The daily, again, really not too much to say. We're still gunning for that consolidation block here. The Ethereum daily looks decent, but really all it is I should go to my other chart. All it's doing is bouncing off support right now. And it, like I said in the beginning of the video, it needed to bounce here or it was really screwed. So it's good that it's bouncing here. It's an opportunity to short a bit higher. And of course, my idea is invalidated if price establishes, I'd say this is support. So if it establishes 144.50 as support, and I think I'm going to pend a short order for Ethereum at 144. I know I had that order for a while. I canceled it the other day, but if using the same thought process as that wick into the consolidation block, I would feel comfortable with shorting Ethereum, at that 144.50 level to 144.30 level. So I'll post the trade for that, but it's just the same thought process as Bitcoin and that consolidation block that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. And that's about it. I think I covered everything I wanted to. Hopefully, you guys understand what I was trying to get across, the points I was trying to make. If you have any further questions, as always, please feel free to ask. Thank you.